Alright, in this video I'm going to be going over the odds to the practice final. Starting with number 1, it says simplify each expression. So I'm going to combine like terms, starting with the 5p and the 3p, which give me 8p. And then I have a negative 5 and a positive 4, which give me a negative 1, which matches with answer choice C. Now moving on to number 3. It says simplify each expression, write each polynomial in standard form. Again, I'm going to combine like terms, and then I'm going to write it in highest degree to lowest degree. So I have a 3b squared and a negative 5b squared. So that is a negative 2b squared. And I have a negative 4b and a positive 2b, which is a negative 2b. So this matches with answer choice C. Alright, question number 5 says to solve each equation. And I'm going to start with the number on the outside of parentheses, which tells me to distribute and multiply in. So I'm going to have 4 minus v equals 4v plus 28 minus 8v. If I combine like terms on this side, I have 4 minus v equals negative 4v plus 28. Now I'm going to move my v's to the left and my constants to the right. So I'm going to add 4v, and I get 3v plus 4 equals 28. And now to move that 4, I subtract 4. So 3v equals 24. So when I divide by 3, I get 24 divided by 3, v equals 8. Alright, number 7, I am solving, and I have an absolute value that is isolated. So I can move straight to x over 4 equals 3, and x over 4 equals negative 3. So to solve, I multiply both sides by 4, and this gives me x equals 12. And when I multiply this by 4, I get x equals negative 12. Alright, number 9, I can cross multiply. So 5 times b is 5b, and 6 times 8 is 48. And then I have to divide by 5. So b equals 48 divided by 5. Now, these answer choices don't match that, so I have to convert this to decimals. 5 goes into 48, 9 point something, and the only one that matches that is b. If I had an actual calculator on me, I would punch that into a calculator and probably get 9.6. Alright, let's move on to number 11. Number 11 says to sketch the graph of each line. So this is my line here, and I'm going to write it in y equals mx plus b form. So 2x minus y equals 0, and I'm going to subtract 2x. So I get negative y equals negative 2x. If I divide by a negative 1, I get y equals 2x. Now let's go ahead and graph that. So in order to graph this, I need to realize that my y-intercept is 0. So on my graph, I should have a y-intercept of 0, which this one does not. Going to B, I do have a y-intercept of 0. C, I do have a y-intercept of 0. And D, I have a y-intercept of 0. So then the next thing I need to look at is my slope, which is 2 over 1. So from here I should go up 2 and over 1. So B does not match that. C, up 2 and over 1. C does not match that. But D does go up 2 and over 1. So my answer choice is D. Alright, let's look at number 13. Number 13 says to write the slope-intercept form for the equation of a line through the given point and slope. So since we're given a point and given slope, I'm going to use my point slope formula. Y minus y1 equals m x minus x1. And I'm going to plug these values in. So y minus y1 is 1, m is 4/3, and x1 is 3. But it says it wants it in slope-intercept form, which is y equals mx plus b. So I need to solve for y. If I distribute, I have y minus 1 equals 4/3 x minus 4 times 3 is 12, divided by 3 gives me 4. So this right here is 4. If I add 1, I get y equals 4/3 x minus 3, which matches up with C. Alright, on to number 15. Solve each system by graphing. So for line 1, let's write this in y equals mx plus b form. I'm going to subtract 2x to both sides, and I get negative y equals negative 2x plus 1. Divide by a negative, and I get y equals 2x minus 1. So let's graph that. Negative 1, up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1. That's line 1. For line 2, I'm going to subtract the x. I'm going to get y equals negative x minus 4. So at negative 4, I go down 1 over 1. And if I follow with my slope here, so I could go down 1 over 1 or up 1, back 1, up 1, back 1. Then I get a point of intersection here. So this point of intersection is negative 1, comma, negative 3. And that matches here. Alright, number 17 is to solve the system. And I like to do them by elimination. So I need opposite coefficients. So here I have a positive 2y and a positive 2y. If I multiply this equation by a negative 1, then I would have 7x plus 2y equals 21 for my top equation. And for my bottom equation, I would have 5x minus 2y equals negative 15. So 2y and a negative 2y will eliminate, and that will result in a negative 2x equals 21 minus 15 is 6. So dividing by negative 2 gives me x equals negative 3. So my answer choices that have an x of negative 3 are B and C. So I have to take that value and substitute it back in. So I'm going to do it to the top equation. I have negative 7 times negative 3 plus 2y equals 21. So 21 plus 2y equals 21. Subtract 21. So 2y equals 0. If I divide by 2, I get y equals 0. So the answer choice of negative 3 comma 0 is my answer. Alright, let's see number 19. 19 says to find the vertex. So I have to find my vertex, that's h comma k, where h is negative b over 2a. So to find x, I have to do negative b over 2a, and then to find k, I plug it back in. So a equals 2, b equals 0, and c equals negative 5. There's no x term or no b, so that's 0. So I have negative 0 over 2 times 2. 0 over 4 is 0. So it's either A or C. Well, I know it's not B or D, so I'm going to cancel that out. And then when I plug it back in, I have y equals 2 times 0 squared minus 5. That's 0 times 2 is 0, so y equals negative 5. For 21, it just says to name each polynomial by degree and number of terms. So first I'm going to do the terms. So I see 1, 2. There's 2 terms. 2 terms means a binomial. Well, this is monomial, that's 1 term. Nope. This is trinomial. Nope. So it's either going to be linear or cubic. So the degree is the highest exponent, which is 3, and 3 means cubic. Oh, I just noticed I circled linear binomial. It's cubic. There we go. Alright, for 23, factor each completely. Well, step 1 when we factor is always to take out what they have in common. So if I look at 30x to the 5th, 24x to the 2nd, and 24, I know that 2 goes into it. But if I'm looking at my answer choices, it's either going to be 6 or 3. So I check if 6 goes into all of these, and it does. Okay, it's not just a 6, but it's a 6x because this one has 5 x's, this one has 2 x's, and this one has 1. So if I factor that out, I get 5x to the 4th plus 4x minus 4. I'm dividing each of these by a 6x. And so my answer choice matches here. Alright, 25 also factor completely. There's nothing in common between 25 and 16. 25 has 5 and 1 that goes into it, but those don't go into 16. So then I can move straight to my binomials and say what multiplies to 25 is 5 and 5. What multiplies to 16 is 4 and 4. And my middle term or my b term is 0, so it needs to add to 0. So one needs to be positive and one needs to be negative. So my answer choice that matches this is, it looks like, nope, that has both negative. So it's not that, not that, and it looks like it's this one here. Alright, 27 says to solve each quadratic. You could do quadratic formula, you could do factoring, you can't do square roots because there is an n term. So I'm going to try to do this by factoring. So n squared, I'm going to subtract the 7n over, subtract the 8 over, and that sets it equal to 0. So what multiplies to n squared is n and n. What multiplies to 8 but adds to 7 is 8 and 1. So this should be a negative and this should be a positive. So if I set each of these equal to 0 and solve, I get n equals 8 and n equals negative 1. Alright, and the last question is 29. It says to identify the vertex, the amplitude, the axis of symmetry, and sketch the graph. So my vertex is negative b over 2a. b in this case is 0, and a is 1. So I get 0, comma, and if I plug 0 back in, 0 squared is 0. So I have a vertex of 0, 0, good, 0, 0, good, 0, 0, and 0, 0. So all of these fit that. Your amplitude is the number in front. So I know that I'm going to go up 1 and over 1 to find my next point. So it's not A. I'm going to go up 1 and over 1. It's kind of hard to tell if that's what's happening here. So let's try on C. Up 1 over 1. Kind of looks like it would be here instead. Here, up 1 over 1. This one's very clear that that's what it's doing. So how do we know which one is? We could plug in this number here, which is 2. And plugging that one in is 2 squared should be 4. So at 2, I should be at 4. So it's not B. Here, 2, 4. It's not C, so it is clearly D. Good luck on studying for your final.